videos. We're going to give this another shot and keep going. We were able to salvage it. It is now available on live stream for anyone to watch, and we do need people to download it. We should be live right now, so hopefully people can hear me as I'm telling you to that I need all the listeners who can hear this, and they've got sort of an ad going on right now. So I want the people listening to videotape this if they can save it to their desktops. I'd like you to download and make this go viral, and take what is there. It's called Dutch. I was not able to type in the full name. I will fix that later, and get that out there so that we do not lose it. Okay. So I want to make sure people are aware. Dutch, you're there.
Yes, I am here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, and I believe we're loud and clear, and people are on the chat going crazy that we were able to get you back here. This is recording again. Again, I ask people to make this go viral, to download the section that we've got up there already, and we will be continuing with this discussion right now. We don't want to keep too much more of Dutch's time, but we do want people to understand that we've made every effort to get this out there, and that we do want to do weekly updates with you, Dutch, if you wouldn't mind. They don't have to be as long as this conversation, but it would be great for people to be able to tune in on live stream and also possibly to see you in person if you can get a camera going.
Definitely, and I'm on it. I've already sent a text message out. The camera is getting picked up now, and also, it's a blessing in disguise it got shut down because, guys, I was starting to do what I hate most, which is bloviate on and blather on about my personal beliefs about this and that. We could get back to the main topic, which is what's going on, and that's really why I've got 13 million views and 33,000 subscribers on YouTube and have made. Well, now we're going to be on a TV show. I can announce that tonight. The message was put out. I'm going to be on Discovery Channel on a show called Bunker People, and it's it's great. The show is awesome. It's all why people get bunkers, and not just bunkers, but why people prepare, what you can do to prepare on a limited budget like me. So it's a great show, and it would have never even come about if I hadn't started just standing up for what I believe in, saying what I believe in, but backing up what I believe in. That's the key. And so that's why, we just got shut down by God Almighty or whoever, because I'm sitting here just talking, and I can't provide you, I'm not providing links or anything on the stuff I'm talking about. So I'll shut up. And that's what YouTube has taught me. And on YouTube especially, we're held, I think, even to a higher standard than your politicians or your news people or your weather people. We're literally put on the frying pan every day, and we're forced to provide all the links and provide all the stuff we're talking about so that people know we're not just sitting there just doing the YouTube thing, just talking about whatever we want to talk about and just saying whatever it is that we want to say. Because it's great to say it, but you got to back it up. I'm from Missouri, and in the states, each of the 50 states has a motto. And the motto in the state that I'm from and that I grew up in is show me. It's just two words. It's on all the license plates and everything. And I live by it. I'm like, I will not believe it unless you show me. So I believe in UFOs. I mean, I had my own thoughts on UFOs before, but I believe in UFOs now because I've seen one personally. And it's kind of the doubting Thomas syndrome, but it ends up being a blessing. So,
okay, well, that's very funny. We have a whistleblower called Gordon Novell. I guess he's from Missouri as well, and he says that all the time.
Oh, we live by it. And it's really annoying to some people because, you constantly are asking to see their proof and see their evidence. But in the end, that's what's going to have to be done. And I think that's why a lot of us are doing it on YouTube particularly, because I think we all think that our content will be out there forever somewhere. If not on YouTube, somebody downloads it, puts it on their computer. And it's like we're making this giant time capsule where we're documenting what's happening now. So if somebody wants to come search chemtrails in, assuming the world survives and everything, if somebody wants to search chemtrails 20 years from now, they will find it on some server somewhere. And they'll be able to see what was happening back here in 2011 when it all hit the fan.
Okay, well, now what I'd like to do is, in some time that we have left, is I'd like to take questions from the chat. So if you put your questions in caps, and I'm sorry, but what's happening with the chat is there are so many people chatting that actually it goes by really fast. So it's hard for me to grab the questions as they go by. We do have someone, a moderator, who is moderating the chat. Zoe, our admin, working hard behind the scenes there to keep everything on the up and up. If you see some questions there and you want to type them into your own Skype chat, Zoe, I will be able to read what you have to say and then ask it of Dutch over the airwaves here. So that may be how we're going to have to do it. You're going to have to cut and paste, Zoe, from the chat into your own Skype and put it there, because the chat is simply going by too quickly for me to even grab questions very much. Somebody's just wrote in caps, they are 12 years old, and what is Elenin? That's very interesting. Well, Elenin is supposed to be a comet, 12-year-old, but it's actually appears to be a piloted craft. If you know anything about Phobos, you can investigate on Google about Phobos and Richard C. Hoagland, and you will find out that Phobos is very likely a craft also. And that means that there are beings that have the power and technology to steer it and put it on the trajectory that it's on. I also want to say that today is the let's see, it's the 5th dark night of, I don't even know how you say it, I'm sorry. On the Mayan calendar, it's today. So there was also a trajectory in which Elenin crossed over on a certain place that Richard C. Hoagland had documented on our conference, on the Elenin conference yesterday. So we are going through some very interesting dynamics right now. Apparently we just left a certain portion of the Mayan calendar. We're now moving into this other section, which I think it's called the 5th night or something of that nature. And Sean David Morton, I spoke to him right before I came on with you, Dutch. I don't know if you know who Sean David Morton is, but he's a very, very knowledgeable guy. And he was telling me that, and someone else as well has been telling me, that we're entering into an even darker section of our sort of history, according to the Mayan calendar, now, as of today. And so that people need to sort of kind of fasten their seatbelts for the next week or two. There's going to be some stuff going on. This may be all part of it. To back up a little bit, what I wanted to do is, you've been talking about the earthquakes around the world, and you've been talking about how the USGS is not telling us the truth. And I believe there's other earthquake services out there that you use. Can you talk about how you determined how to track the actual truth of what's going on?
Yes. It's kind of a process of combination and then elimination. And it's basically what we all do every day when we watch the mainstream news. So you might flip between CNN, Fox, MSNBC, and then go watch NPR, and then maybe put it on C-SPAN. And so that's kind of what I do, but on a different level. I'll go look at the USGS. I'll look at the EMSC, which is the European Mediterranean Agency. I'll go look at the British Geological Survey, and I'll go look at the Russian quakes. That's just an example. I'll go look across all of them, and I'll see what each chart shows. I go look at the individual charts themselves. I don't just look at the map and click on the statistics. I go look at the shake maps or the shake charts and see what it shows. And what I've come to find out is that there's this competition almost, or maybe it's a rivalry where they don't want to share information particularly because each country is paying a lot of money. For instance, imagine how much money the USGS spends every year. And they probably say to each other, what, do you think we're going to share it with the Europeans? And so I think they do that, and then the Europeans have their own thing, and they don't data share. So if you go look at the earthquakes on USGS, they're only showing you the earthquakes that they say happen. Now, what most people don't realize is that there's a lot of other things happening, and you have to look at all the different sources. So, no person would just go to CNN for their source or to Fox News for their source. You have to go to multiple places. You have to go search it out. You even have to get eyewitness testimony sometimes, because what we've come to find out this past week is that the USGS literally was taking 6.0 earthquakes and making them 5.7s, 5.6s. I mean, we're talking a whole half of a magnitude down. Each time each point one of an earthquake is 10 times greater than the previous. So we're talking huge reductions in amounts of power that they're saying these earthquakes have. Or when they censored the Yellowstone earthquake swarm that happened back in February. In February, we saw 3-4 dozen earthquakes that were on the map and on the charts disappear. And they pulled the feed. So you're looking at the live internet seismic server, you're watching it go live, and the next thing you know, the server's off. It's a blank screen. And they did that over and over again. And what I think is going on is, it's obvious. You can go look at all these different facts. There is a huge planetary change that's happening, geologically speaking. That's not even counting the weather and the weather modification or the comets or the weird stuff that's happening with communications and the electric grid and just different things that are occurring. And it takes almost either a supercomputer or a team of people like LaRouche Pack or something to put it all together and to say, look at all this that's happening. And there's enough talk now about the extrasolar connection, the planet that's coming in. And dare I say it is a planet. And that Elenin, like you said, it's very compelling evidence on Elenin about it being maybe possibly controlled somehow. And I'd urge everybody to look into the connection about how they can manipulate objects in space using our ground-based systems here. Because it might not be piloted. It might be being brought to us. I'm serious.
Great. No, absolutely. Great point. I appreciate that. I want to talk about Fukushima in the sense that the Japan earthquake and the Japan radiation issue, because what's happening, it seems also, is that they are affecting the ground radiation barometers, I'm not sure, measuring devices around the globe, so that we are getting wrong readings even when we check into to supposed scientific establishments for getting these readings. In other words, needles are being thrown off. We've got lots of contradictory testimony, including from Benjamin Fulford, who lives in Japan, about what's really going on the ground in Japan at this time. And so this adds to the problems that people are having. And I wonder, because I know you've been measuring radiation yourself, are you aware that they may be messing with even your own instruments?
Yes, and that was a topic of conversation for me for the whole trip when I went from North Carolina to Washington State. And for instance, in the HARP patent, you can go read about how they can activate electronic circuitry with it. They can literally bring a device to life with HARP. And so, of course, they could come in, and if they can activate a circuit, that means they can manipulate a circuit. That means that they could theoretically cook the data even on your own private devices. Now, here's a weird story: is that when we were on the road trip, we went to Denver, Colorado, going out west. We stopped for 2 days in Denver taking measurements. I was in downtown Denver. I had my Geiger counters out, and it was about 1 in the morning. I wanted to get a nighttime measurement, no solar, added radiation or anything. And 3 drunk scientists walk up to my wife and I as we're standing there taking a measurement. And these guys are big-time nerds, pocket protectors, the whole bit. And they're there for a conference on mass spectrometry. There was 4,000 other mass spectrometer scientists that were in Denver for a convention having to do with, and if you go watch the video of me in downtown Denver taking the measurement, you hear us talking in the background.
Yes,
and these guys
I saw
are
it.
Going on about how they're there taking measurements for background radiation that has nothing to do with Fukushima, and they were just extremely intrigued that I was there with these Geiger counters taking measurements. And what I've come to find out about Fukushima is extremely disturbing. And I've seen all of Benjamin Fulford's videos. I've seen them all. I've seen all the videos on HAARP and just everything. I've put in a month's worth of study on this, at least, straight on the Fukushima aspect. And what I've come to find out is that the radiation that's been released from Fukushima, and there was radiation released from Fukushima, is that eventually you're not going to believe what it's going to decay into. When radioactive decay happens, these radioactive elements, especially xenon and cesium, they will actually, and so what Fukushima was a long-term release of a large amount of strontium and barium in the long term. That's what it's going to turn into. So developed a device that's capable of, here it is in the chat right there, that
That's awesome. Awesome information.
Yeah, it's Bluebeam is what we're talking about.
Yep.
And I put the video out. It's on there. You can just go search barium, strontium, Fukushima, and you'll find my video. And so what I think that we're seeing is the chemtrail screen and the Fukushima release is a build-up not just for weather modification, because they use it also for atmospheric mirror tilting and a few other things to aid in the frequency transmission from different devices. But I also think it's a dual use, that they're going to use. Everybody knows Bluebeam exists, and there was the spiral above Norway when Obama was there, and several other spirals that have appeared. I truly think that Fukushima might be a plan to enact this greater nefarious fraud that we're all talking about.
Yep. Absolutely.
And that's what I found out.
That no doubt about it. What we're talking about is building holograms. In order to make Project Bluebeam a reality, which is a there is a war, and I have got documented evidence from whistleblowers about this, going on above our skies. And for a very long time, I have felt that there is a fake sky above us. And one of the things that chemtrails do is give you a cloud cover so that you can't see above the cloud cover what's really going on. And this allows them to conduct their wars that are going on, in my view. So this all falls into place, and I have to say that's very, very interesting information. But let's get back to the fake readings that people are also getting, because
Yes.
this is also troubling, and this makes it so that people have contradictory, as we said, information. They don't know if they really need to protect themselves, if there is a health risk in regard to radiation. And let me just throw out one other thing, which is the Gulf situation. In the Gulf, as you know, the explosion that created what is also a volcanic, a movement under the ground there in the Gulf, which has also blackened the water, which has become a no-fly zone, et cetera, which has probably stopped the North Atlantic conveyor. going over to Europe and basically will increase or expedite what may be an ice age type of environment happening in the winter in Europe. But are you aware of all of that? I assume you are, and how that also there's the idea of the Gulf putting methane into the environment. You aware of that?
Yes, I am. Actually, the first video that I did, it was, I think, December 28th or 29th. It has no voice and no sound. It's just a screenshot of a satellite view from the Oscar OSCAR data set. And what it is basically I'm saying the Gulf Stream has stopped, and this is literally in December. And I proved it. I provide the shots and the current flow data to show that the Gulf Stream had stopped. Now, you go back a year almost, and that's when the BP oil spill happened. They dumped a ton of core exit into the Gulf of Mexico. Then, literally, within a year's time, we see all around the world in the oceans, every type of animal dying exponentially. And I'm not exaggerating, guys. You didn't see this in the mainstream media because it's an alarming story. And that's the number of animals that have actually died is in the tens of, I'd say in the tens of billions. And that's not an exaggeration, just when you add up the number of fish and birds and jellyfish and crabs. I mean, in England, you had the shores were lined with dead crabs with this substance that's like ricin washed up on shore. And I did a whole video on that. That was back in January. And so this all ties together. What they were doing down in the Gulf, this is amazing. I called into a radio show here in St. Louis. This is back before I started making videos because of something I found out. Is that Blackwater was dumping munitions, and this is verified fact, go look it up. There's a munitions dump down in the Gulf of Mexico for the U.S. Navy. And it just so happens that the area that the munition dump is in is the same area that they're drilling in. Okay, and go look it up. And they even did a dump like a few months before the explosion that happened. Now, the oil rig blew up. And what I think they were doing was they were using that oil rig, and this is, I mean, you could go look it up. I'm not conspiracizing here, that they were using that oil rig as munitions disposal down in the Gulf, and that something happened on the rig and it blew up, and then everything down at the bottom blew up, and that's why we have a huge opening and a rift where all this oil is coming out because they buried this stuff. They go down and they put these munitions deep underground. It's not like they just lay it on the floor of the sea. They go in and drill it out and bury it down there. And you can go read all the U.S. Navy documentation on it. It's amazing.
Right.
And that ruptured the salt dome. And then last year, or this past year, there was a huge rushing sound of some kind of flowing that was occurring under Florida. And look up on YouTube, strange sound in Florida. And you'll find this series of videos that were made by people, and it sounds like water rushing at just a velocity just unbelievable. I mean, like Niagara Falls velocity. And it's occurring across the entire state of Florida from the East Coast all the way to the West Coast of Florida. And you put that all together, and that says to me that a huge explosion happened, a bunch of oil is coming up, and right there is what is called the salt dome. There's a huge dome of salt and other types of dry rock that's down underneath the Gulf of Mexico. And when they punctured that set off a whole series of releases: oil, natural gas, and methane. And now you move over to the East Coast. Right off the coast of Florida, you have what's called the Bermuda Triangle. We've all heard about it. And about 2 years ago, I think, I saw on Discovery Channel a whole thing about these huge methane deposits that are off the coast of Florida going a large amount of bubbles come up. And so if you're a ship floating on the water and a large amount of bubbles come up underneath you, the water completely disappears. And when the methane hits the air and it flies into it, boom, the plane explodes. There's nothing left, and no one knows where it went. It's just off the radar. Now, that's just one theory on it. Another dimensional theory that we could go into on Stargates and everything else that's going on down there. But that's for another.
Let me let me say here that we also have whistleblower testimony that the methane that's been released in the Gulf has also permeated the land of the Gulf states. And what's happening is there are river fissures of going up through what is in essence the area of the groundwater, supposedly. And what this is eventually capable of doing is, if you light a match to it, you can imagine a fire running up through the states. Ben O'Finian, our super soldier witness, has said that he has seen, and he's quite in the Midwest, in nothing but fire. So what I want to say here is that we have precursor situations. It's not my intention to look at the dark side and nothing but the dark side, but I do want people to be aware that there are physical, geophysical things happening on the planet right now. Obviously, you Dutchsinse are something of an amazing witness to and documenter of, and making it possible for people to start to connect the dots in ways in which the planet and the people that, the powers that were are able to basis, and they plot their strategic agenda based on. And so some of these things are being put in place like dominoes. They're actually positioned that all they have to do is flip a switch, and you're going to have a domino effect in which several things happen being painted here. You're talking about the cars. We're talking about, for example,
oh no, I'm talking about this. It seems very trivial, but it's a card game that was released in the 1990s called Camelot. Cards. One of which is called...
Okay, hold on. We're getting some kind of audio warning here. I don't know what's happened. I don't know why. Some people are saying, keep talking. I don't know. Maybe there's a breakup. Hold on one second. Let me ask them in the chat. Okay, they say it's Johnny.
Sorry, guys.
Ever since the methane discussion started, I know we're on to something with that, I have to say. Blower is impeccable, and you've documented it. Okay, can you hear us? I need people to hear us at this time, whether I need to restart again. If necessary, I will do. Hold on one second. They're telling me to... the only way I can... there's no real way, I don't think, to pause this. I think I would need to make it into a third part. Sounds like they're telling me. Okay, what I'm going to do is, first of all, I'm going to close this other computer. And what that does is make it on. Okay, I'm again going to test this. Okay. Sure what to do here. Are you there?
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to bring up the down.
No, it's actually shut down for that.
That's not.
We're going to give this another shot and keep going. We were able to salvage it. It is now available on live stream for anyone to watch, and we do need people to download it. We should be live right now, so hopefully people can hear me as I'm telling you to that I need all the listeners who can hear this, and they've got sort of an ad going on right now. So I want the people listening to videotape this if they can save it to their desktops. I'd like you to download
bunkers, and not just bunkers, but why people prepare, what you can do to prepare on a limited budget like me. So it's a great show, and it would have never even come about if I hadn't started just standing up for what I believe in, saying what I believe in, but backing up what I believe in. That's the key. And so that's why, we just got shut down by God Almighty or whoever, because I'm sitting here just talking, and I can't provide you, I'm not providing links or anything on the stuff I'm talking about. So I'll shut up. And that's what YouTube has taught me. And on YouTube especially, we're held, I think, even also, it's a blessing in disguise it got shut down because, guys, I was starting to do what I hate most, which is bloviate on and blather on about my personal beliefs about this and that. We could get back to the main topic, which is what's going on. And that's really why I've got 13 million views and 33,000 subscribers on YouTube and have made, well, now we're going to be on a TV show. I can announce that tonight. The message was put out. I'm going to be on Discovery Channel on a show called Bunker People, and it's it's great. The show is awesome. It's all why people get
viral. To download the section that we've got up there already, and we will be continuing with this discussion right now. We don't want to keep too much more of Dutch's time, but we do want to people to understand that we've made every effort to get this out there. And that we do want to do weekly updates with you, Dutch, if you wouldn't mind. They don't have to be as long as this conversation, but it would be great for people to be able to tune in on live stream and also possibly to see you in person if you can get a camera going.
Definitely, and I'm on it. I've already sent a text message out. The camera is getting picked up now, and
load and make this go viral, and take what is there. It's called Dutch. I was not able to type in the full name. I will fix that later, and get that out there so that we do not lose it. Okay. So I want to make sure people are aware. Dutch, you're there.
Yes, I am here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, and I believe we're loud and clear, and people are on the chat going crazy that we were able to get you back here. This is recording again. Again, I ask people to make this go